In today's business world, being an average CEO is no longer an option. That's why we're committed to equipping you with the resources and the tactics necessary to not just survive, but to thrive. You're listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline podcast, where we are more than just a voice in the crowd.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We have a very special guest, Jake Isham, and we're going to be talking about the difference between reach and authority. And Jake has some great insights on this topic. He has done a ton in his career in the film industry, and I will let him share a little bit more about that. Jake, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself, your journey, your current career path?
Sure. So my background is as a filmmaker. I grew up around high school. I was like, oh, I kind of like this filmmaking thing, and so I then jumped behind the camera, went to film school, left film school, being like, all right, what do I do now? Film school doesn't particularly prepare you all that well for the real world in terms of career and work, and so had to kind of figure it out. And I took the kind of freelance mindset and model and expanded from there. And since then, I've built an agency. We've done over 1 billion views online. We help brands and entrepreneurs basically grow their social presence and become authorities in their space, and all while then generating leads for their business.
And that's amazing. And I can't wait for people to see your work because it's really wonderful. And we'll share a little bit later about how to find Jake. So a lot of the clients that I speak to and prospective clients talk about wanting visibility. And very few I've seen actually build the authority for that. So can you share with the audience the difference between visibility and what actual authority is, and sort of where CEOs and others get this wrong when they're creating the content?
Sure. It's really about creating content for your audience. And by audience, I literally mean the people who are going to buy from you. Like, for example, I had a video that got over 10 million views. Want to know how many leads I got from it? 0. Because it was about my dog. My dog was being a goofball. She's not in here right now. But
I was gonna say, don't talk about her in front of her. Okay.
But she was just being a goofball. So I made a little video about it. I was like, oh, let me, and it was against one of my cardinal sins, which is stay on brand. Stay on brand. Like, and this was at a time where this was in the middle of COVID, right? So, we were locked down in the house. I wasn't I was just futzing around with TikTok. And I had just gone on to TikTok and I was just kind of messing around. We got over 10 million views. And in 4 weeks, I had over 200,000 subscribers on my TikTok from one video. Now, the next time I posted a dog video, it got over 1 million views. I posted anything about marketing, no views, because the audience wasn't there for marketing. They were there for dogs. And so the difference between reach, I got 10 million views, great. I was getting millions of impressions a week, a month for those handful of months. But it didn't grow my business. It didn't make me any more money. And so there's the old business cliche of people do business with people they know and they trust. So the know is reach, right? Just general awareness. And the trust is an understanding that you can solve their problem. So you have to just show that you understand their problem first, B, that you can solve it, and even 3, ideally that you have solved it for others. And if you can show those 3 points, you'll win. Because I speak to a lot of B2B, and one last point on this is that I speak to a lot of B2B entrepreneurs. And for them, like I say, if you're in the service-based business or whatnot, I'm like, I'm like, how many clients could you handle onboarding right now? They're like, oh, so many. I'm like, okay, logistically, really look at it. Could you handle 1? Yeah. Could you handle 3? Yeah, I can handle 3 if I were to onboard them right now. Could you handle 5? Could you handle 10? So if you had a viral video, let's say, and 10 people inquired about your services and wanted to start this week. Could you even handle that?
Right.
Business owners, no. They,
Yeah, most people couldn't. I could see that.
yeah. So you don't need a million views. All you need is the right views and the right percentage of them to then take the next step, go to your website, opt in, go through your lead funnels, whatever it might be, and, get a book or a call and, et cetera. You just need the right views. So the right percentage goes through and converts into clients.
That's absolutely true. And I think that's something that a lot of folks need to understand, because I see that happen a lot. So I know that in your work, you talk a lot about omnipresence, and that's not something that people hear every day. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means and how someone can use your theories?
Yeah. So, I mean, omnipresence, just by the English definition, is just being seen everywhere. You hear about God being an omnipotent being, right? He is everywhere. And it's the same idea for marketing. You look at a brand like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Nike. You look at the biggest brands in the world, right? They're omnipresent. They're everywhere. You can't, Starbucks. Every street corner either has a McDonald's or a Starbucks.
Yep.
It's omnipresent. Just their buildings themselves are, ads. So what you want to do is replicate that as close as possible. Now, we don't have billion-dollar marketing budgets. So how do we do that? And I use a very simple framework for social media, is that you want to build it up on a gradient where first you just start posting. Post anything on any platform. Just pick one and just start posting. And then you're going to go, okay, great. Might as well just take the same post and post it across more platforms. So let's say you're posting a video. You say you're already badass enough to be posting a video a day on Instagram, right? So you have 7 posts going out a week. Well, just take the same post it also on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, etc. And now you've gone from 1 post to 6 posts a day. You've gone from 7 posts a week to 42 posts a week. Like, you've gone from 28 posts a month to 168 posts a month with no extra effort.
Right.
And that's where it's like starting to talk about omnipresence. It's like, have your audience be able to find you on other places. I'll give one story about this, about a client of mine. He's in the entertainment industry, and he finally, he's an older gentleman, and I finally convinced him to do social media. And so we're posting, and he then goes just recently to a Hollywood party, one of where all the shishi people, all the big famous people are. And one of the biggest directors in Hollywood comes up to him and says, "Oh my God, I love your TikTok videos." And he's like, first of all, you're watching my videos, and second of all, on TikTok. Like, and again, like, it was just because also his TikTok is his least viewed, his least followed social media platform. So you don't know who's watching where, right?
Right.
And that's why, like, you might as well just post on every platform, because you don't know who's going to actually see your work. And as you go, like, the next phase above that would be to go, great, I'm going to make this video specifically for TikTok because they like this style a little better. Instagram likes this style a little bit more. LinkedIn likes this vibe a little bit more. But that's only after you've been consistently making content. You've been consistently making a lot of content.
Absolutely. That I think is really helpful. And that sort of leads me to my next question. If someone just has, 2 or 3 hours a week to dedicate to creating the content, and I think that's probably where a lot of our audience members are, where would you recommend that they focus to get the highest and best return on that?
Well, there's one of two strategies, it really kind of depends on your propensity of how long you want it to take and kind of exactly what your goals are. But I'll just kind of briefly get into them, which is one is video form. It's video in general. Just focus on video content. And so within that, you have two nuances of just straight vertical videos, going heavy on the Instagram, Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc.
Okay.
Or long form YouTube videos. So if you have 2-3 hours a week. So, well, now I'm going to throw in a third is video podcasting. It's exactly like what you're doing here, what you and I are doing here.
Yeah.
So there's three different. So those are I'll put the long form and the short form in one category, which is just like solo brand building. If you're like, I don't want to do a podcast, great. Do one of those two and make your one long form video a week. Shoot a 20-minute video diving into a nuance in your business, answering questions and explaining a certain area so that people go, oh, people know and trust you, right? Same thing with the shorts. You can just go, great, I'm going to make 7 shorts and then there's one a week. Otherwise, if you want to do a video podcast, the biggest thing that I would say is you should have only one of 3 types of guests on it. You should either have your prospects, your referral partners, or industry leaders on your podcast, because the content itself is not the goal. The networking is the goal from the video podcast, in my opinion. And I use I'm a big proponent of video podcasting, whether it's remote like this, in person, or even an elevated digital show, which is like this is what I create with clients, like why they hire me. And because then the real value of it is the networking and the relationship building. Because if your LTV, if a client is worth $100,000 to you in a year or more, build that relationship, get them on. They're going to spend that money because they like you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I recommend, because then it eventually replaces your outbound. You do it enough, people are like, oh, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. I like to build a relationship with you. And then you can, again, vet them. Are they prospect, referral partner, or industry leader? And you can decide, but it replaces all your outbound eventually.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think I think our audience in particular really likes the actionable items too. And I think that something that you can do in 2 or 3 hours a week makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And, then your leverage becomes increased. As you grow your business, you can have, somebody come in and shoot. You can hire an agency like mine. You can, bring somebody in-house to continue to take over some of these hats and these functions to make it easier for you. Where I work with clients, I will shoot with them for about 2 to 4 hours, and I'll have the entire month worth of content. So I shoot with them 2 to 3 hours once a month, and I have my entire month worth of content.
Yeah, I think that's something people should keep in mind, doing it the one time, but it can, take you out several weeks. And so it's not something that you have to be consistent with every week.
Yeah. If you're creating, it depends on the team. It does take time. There is an aspect of it just takes time to make the content. If you're going to make a 20-minute video, it's going to take you at least 20 minutes.
Sure.
So, there is a bluntness, but you get faster at it. It becomes easier by just doing more reps. So the best way to do it is just you learn more by doing it, and you learn more by hiring the right coaches and the right teams to make it easier for you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So as you know, the title of our podcast is Not Your Average CEO. I'd love to hear from you what that means to you.
I guess I look at it as, everyone has their own journey, not your average CEO. So what is an average CEO? I don't even know. I never planned on being an entrepreneur. I never planned on being a CEO or running an agency. I grew up wanting to be an actor, which then got me into being a filmmaker. Like, I just want to make art. I just want to make films. That's always what I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that.
And even being an artist, realizing, and this is kind of the big fallacy that I've seen, especially with with artists, and which got me into becoming a CEO, was you have to be your own boss. You have to be the CEO. And the best artists out there are the CEOs of their business. They're running a business. Their business happens to just be themselves. So, all of us have their own journey. Yes, we can watch the gurus on YouTube and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's our journey, and our journey is going to be our journey.
That makes a lot of sense. And we so appreciate you being here. Before we head out, I'd love to have you share with the audience where they can learn more about you and your work, how they can keep in touch with you.
Sure. LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn is I have so many social media pages. Like, if you Googled my name, like, you'd see my photography, you'll see my filmmaking, you'll find my agency, but like, I have multi social media pages for again, niche down in each of my social media pages. So
Exactly.
LinkedIn is great for all of this type of stuff, for work, and would love to connect and help anybody that needs help.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice to connect with you.
Likewise.
You've been listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline with your hosts Danielle Cuomo, CEO, and Nicole Gallicchio-Elz, COO. This podcast has been sponsored by Virtual Assist USA. If you'd like to know more about the hosts or exploring virtual assistant services, visit virtualassistusa.com for more information.